Hello and welcome to the Iron Tribe Fitness Transform Challenge Nutrition Seminar. My name is Kyle Sutton and I'm the Director of Product Development for Iron Tribe. We hope that you're as excited as we are for the start of the 2017 Transform Challenge and ready to get deeply focused on hitting your body composition and workout goals over the 40-day challenge. As you know, this challenge is centered around weight loss, decreasing body fat, and losing inches. As always, we'll expect to see improvement in your workouts as well. We're also very excited to talk about our new individualized nutritional strategy and why we've partnered up with Renaissance Periodization to deliver a different approach for how you think about your diet. We've heard your feedback over the years that you want more specific and detailed instruction for how to eat, and now we're ready to show you how. Over the course of this presentation, we'll explain in detail the following topics. What is Renaissance Periodization and why did we decide to partner with them? What are the most important nutritional factors for achieving your body composition goals and what does each factor entail? What does nutritional periodization mean and why is it important? How to choose your individualized template and what does that look like? We'll show you what a template looks like and the kind of information you'll be seeing. We'll have a more detailed template tutorial for you to access once you have your program. What are your next steps after viewing this seminar? Let's get started. I'll be using the terminology RP to indicate Renaissance Periodization moving forward for the sake of simplicity. You may be asking yourself, what makes Renaissance Periodization special? First off, they have an extensive team of sports scientists, doctors, professors, dietitians, and other high-level fitness professionals. Their staff has very diverse specializations that allow them to apply rigorous scientific principles to nutrition. They utilize extensive research and experience to refine their philosophy and nutritional programming. They have experience working with a wide range of athletes and clients, from Olympians and bodybuilders to anyone looking for improvements in body composition or performance. To streamline the process for you, they prepare templates and protocols that are specific to the goals of healthy eating, adding muscle, or losing fat. We've worked with them over the last few months to create customized templates that are specifically for you, the Iron Tribe athlete. So now we're going to dive into the RP nutritional philosophy. All of the information over the next dozen or more slides forms the foundation for why your individualized nutritional template looks the way it does. The RP philosophy, which we at Iron Tribe are adopting as well, is centered around a hierarchy of 5 factors, with the relative importance of each indicated by the size of the block representing it. The most important and critical factor for achieving your body composition goals is caloric balance. The next most important factor is macronutrient balance. Third is nutrient timing. The last 2 factors that contribute a small amount to your body composition are food composition and supplements. Let's start by talking about caloric balance first. When we talk about caloric balance, the simplest way to put it is intake versus expenditure. How many calories are you taking in through your diet versus how many are you using to stay alive? That includes anything that requires energy, like workouts, digesting, sleeping, breathing, and using your brain. We have the remarkable ability to store this energy in our bodies, specifically in the muscles, the liver, and in fat cells. We can be in any of the following 3 states of caloric balance, but we can't be in more than one state at any given time. The first is negative caloric balance. This means that we are taking in fewer calories than our bodies need to function. For this reason, the body will start to utilize its own forms of stored energy in the form of fat or tissue and therefore result in weight loss. If you are in true caloric balance, that means that your intake is matching your expenditure and your weight will remain the same over time. Even in caloric balance, you may see fluctuations in weight based on your activity, hydration status, etc. Positive caloric balance means that your intake is exceeding your expenditure, and this will always result in tissue gain. Depending on your training status, this tissue gain could be muscle, fat, or both. So the body is really good at figuring out which state of caloric balance you are in and will start a cascade of effects to try to maintain homeostasis. If you're in negative caloric balance, your body will begin to burn stored fat to cover the deficit. And if you're in positive caloric balance, your body will be flooded with raw materials that signal tissue growth. Which leads to a question and a misconception that is important that we address in this section. Can I burn fat and build muscle at the same time? The short answer is, it depends. Some people have a naturally higher ability to do this, but for most people, the only time they will be able to do both at the same time is if they have a significant fat mass and if they are a beginner to training. The leaner you become and the higher your training level, the harder it gets to do both at the same time, because you can't be in positive and negative caloric balance at the same time. We'll talk more about this in the section about nutritional periodization. So the big question is, how do you know which state of caloric balance you're in? Thankfully, we're not going to ask you to count every calorie in your diet and do complex math calculations to figure out your daily expenditure. All we'll ask you to do is hit the scale 2 to 3 times per week. This allows you to see trends over time. Over the course of about 2 weeks, you should see which way you're trending and then make adjustments. If you're trying to lose weight and the scale is staying the same, it's time to reduce your intake or increase your expenditure to tip the balance in your favor. With the exception of those that have significant excess weight to lose, most people should be aiming for 1 to 2 pounds of weight change per week if they are trying to gain or lose weight. This equates to about 3,500 to 7,000 calorie surplus or deficit per week, spread out over 7 days. This equals 500 to 1,000 calories per day. If you're trying to lose or gain at a faster rate than this, you are most likely sacrificing muscle in a weight loss phase or adding too much fat tissue if you are in a mass gain phase. Remember that caloric balance is the most important factor as it relates to body composition goals, so make sure this is your number one focus to get right. You could be doing well on the next 4 factors and still not see great results if caloric balance is not being executed. Let's now discuss the second most important factor, macronutrient balance. Macronutrients are the 3 main components of our food. They are as follows: protein, which provides the building blocks for muscle tissue; carbohydrate, which allows for muscle energy stores to be replenished, is the preferred fuel for the body, and triggers the insulin effects that are beneficial for the body when utilized properly; fat, which is necessary for survival because it provides raw materials for cells and hormones, but also because it's a great caloric buffer and increases the palatability of food. Let's talk about each macronutrient in a little more depth. Protein is the most important macro for body composition goals. As we strive for an optimal body fat percentage, we need to be keeping the body flooded with the building blocks to spare our muscle tissue but not disrupt caloric balance. For this reason, we want to find the right amount of each macro each day based on our body weight. Even though we'll be talking through some of the numbers here, don't worry. The RP templates have worked out all of this for you. It can be helpful to consider each macro in terms of the minimal to survive, excessive amounts, and optimal amounts. For protein, the minimum daily need is about 0.4 grams per pound of body weight per day. Excessive amounts are typically anything more than 1.25 grams per pound of body weight per day. But the optimal amounts are around 0.8 to 1.0 grams per pound of body weight per day. So for a 175 pound individual, somewhere between 140 and 175 grams of protein is going to be a good amount each day. Again, this will all be worked out in your template. Carbohydrate is the second most important macronutrient for body composition. Minimum intake of carbohydrate can range from 0, which means that we can survive without carbohydrate if we are still getting enough calories from protein and fat, all the way up to 1.5 grams per pound of body weight if we are extremely active. Excessive intake of carbohydrate can range from 1.0 grams per pound of body weight on sedentary days to over 2.5 grams per pound of body weight on extremely active days, which puts our optimal levels at about 0.5 to 2.0 grams per pound of body weight per day. But this is all dependent on your expenditure, which can vary from day to day based on the physical nature of your work or your training volume. Once you've achieved the minimum amount of fat in your diet, fat can act as a very important caloric buffer. Because there are 9 calories per gram of fat as compared to 4 calories per gram of protein and carbohydrate, fat goes a long way to contributing calories to your diet. Minimums are just 0.1 grams per pound of body weight per day. For our hypothetical 175-pound individual, that is slightly less than 20 grams of fat needed to survive. While there are technically no harmful effects to the body from excessive fat consumption, we do know that excessive fat will get us out of caloric balance fairly quickly, and excessive weight gain will become an issue. The optimal amount of fat in your diet is whatever allows you to achieve the caloric balance goals you've set. So once protein and carbohydrate quantities are established, fat fills in the gap of calories for the day. Now, before we leave our section on macronutrient balance, let's get a little bit nerdy and talk about something called the caloric constraint hypothesis. Basically, what it says is that for any body composition goal, there is a specific number of calories that you should be taking in each day. We've discussed that in the first section of caloric balance. Increasing the amount of any one macronutrient comes at the expense of another. So if you are taking in excessive calories from carbohydrate, you will have to reduce protein or fat down from optimal levels. This helps us determine the ratio of each macronutrient needed each day, which your templates will provide. It reminds me of one of my favorite Arnold Schwarzenegger stories. A reporter asked Arnold how many grams of protein he eats for breakfast, and his reply was, all of them. While this may be a good idea for a bodybuilder who is trying to gain as much mass as possible, it won't be a good idea for someone trying to improve body composition or lose weight. Now it's time to talk about our third factor, which is nutrient timing. Nutrient timing is less important than our first two factors, but once you've gotten caloric balance and macronutrient balance figured out, it can help you dial in your results. It is defined by 2 criteria, which are meal frequency, or how many times you eat throughout the day, and timing in relation to activity. This is referring to the times when you are getting your macronutrients around your workouts and how you're spreading those macronutrients throughout the rest of the day. Over the next few slides, we'll break down the timing of each of the macronutrients and how the templates will end up looking as it relates to your nutrient timing. Let's start with protein again. Our approach to protein is to keep a steady supply of amino acids, which are the building blocks of protein, flowing through our body all day. This is why you'll see protein distributed evenly throughout the day when you are using your templates. This helps us continue to supply our muscles with the materials for growth and recovery. One of the most important factors when looking at nutrient timing for protein is absorption rate. This can depend on the type of protein you are consuming, the size of your meal, and the fat and fiber content. Larger meals slow the absorption of protein, and fat and fiber have the same effect. A key recommendation is to choose fast digesting protein sources around your workout times and the slowest protein sources before your longest time between meals, which for most people will be before bed. The next macronutrient is carbohydrate. While we want protein spread out evenly throughout the day, we can be much more strategic about our carbohydrate intake. Specifically, we can manipulate our carbohydrate timing around our workout windows to boost recovery and then control blood sugar in times away from workouts. Some basic rules of thumb that will be represented in your templates, especially if you are using a cutting or massing template, are as follows. In the period of time building up to your workout, you will see your carbohydrates start to increase. While you're working out, you can ingest some high glycemic carbohydrates that can help you sustain your energy throughout your workout. In the time immediately after your workout, you want to have your highest amounts of carbohydrate, as it helps to top off muscle glycogen stores and triggers an insulin response that can drive recovery. As the time from the end of the workout increases, your carbohydrate intake will decrease. One more recommendation is to avoid fiber around workout times, as it will slow the absorption of the protein and carbohydrates that we want to digest quickly at this time. For the same reason we want to avoid fiber around workout times, we want to avoid fat as well. Because fat slows the absorption of the other two macronutrients, we are better served by avoiding fat around workout times and incorporating fats at times away from activity. At these times, it's great for providing a steady digestion rate that can reduce breakdown of tissue during periods between meals. One important thing to note about the templates. The more basic healthy eating or health template does not take into account your workout timing and instead gives an option for a 3+1 meal frequency, which means 3 meals and 1 snack, or a 4+1 approach, where you have 4 slightly smaller meals and a snack. But if you are using a cutting or massing template, you will have multiple options throughout the day for how to structure your nutrient timing to take advantage of your workout times. Again, don't worry about this until you have your template in hand and can see the structure. It will all be taken care of for you. Moving forward, our fourth factor for achieving your body composition goals involves food composition. One of the great things about the approach of RP and the templates is that it gives you plenty of food options to choose from. This means that if you have a specific preference for certain foods or want to avoid certain foods, you will still be set up for success. While it's probably a good idea to try to get your food from unprocessed, natural and organic, and grass-fed and wild-caught sources, if your caloric and macronutrient balance and nutrient timing is not on point, these foods will not necessarily lead to improvements in body composition. When considering food composition, your protein choices should mainly take into account protein quality and digestion rate. We talked about fast digesting and slow digesting proteins in the macronutrient section, but let's discuss protein quality. What you need to know is that protein quality is based on bioavailability, meaning how much of the protein can be utilized by the body. Animal sources have the highest bioavailable protein. For carbohydrate food composition, you should be making your choices primarily based on 2 factors, the glycemic index and your tolerance for the food. The glycemic index simply explains how quickly the carbohydrate breaks down in the body and therefore how useful it is around activity. Your tolerance for the food that should also drive your food composition choice. For example, if you don't tolerate wheat products well, there are other choices that may be a better fit. Where food composition becomes a little more dialed in is with the fat. RP's recommendation is to get about 60% of your fat from monounsaturated sources, think olive oil and avocado, 15% from polyunsaturated sources, like nuts and seeds, and 25% from saturated sources, which are typically from animals. Moving to our fifth and final factor, supplements are the least important factor for achieving body composition goals. But for those individuals who have dialed in all the other factors, they can further refine results. There are only a few things that make the RP approved supplements list, and even then, these items might not be a good choice for you personally. The first supplements that are approved are milk fraction proteins in the form of whey and casein. Whey is the fastest digesting protein and casein is the slowest. Using them at certain times can be beneficial to your macronutrient balance and nutrient timing. The next is high glycemic index supplements, typically in powdered form like dextrose or powdered Gatorade or Powerade. Utilizing these fast-absorbing carbohydrates around workout times can be beneficial for some people depending on their goals. Creatine is one of the most well-researched supplements and can have multiple positive benefits in the body. We get it naturally from eating certain foods, but supplementation can boost performance for power and strength-minded athletes. Caffeine can have benefits around workout times for increased energy. However, if you're someone who is overstimulated naturally, or if you drink a lot of caffeine throughout the day, this may not be a useful supplement. You may be wondering why the word periodization is used by RP. Well, like we discussed before, it involves the common question of, can you lose fat and gain muscle at the same time? We know from earlier that unless you're a fairly untrained beginner with a higher amount of fat to lose, you will find it difficult to do both things at the same time. Using periodization, you don't try to do too many things at once, especially when they may be contradictory. So the approach is to pick a goal and do it with laser-like focus. For the Transform Challenge, most of you are going to be in fat loss mode. But during a power or performance focused challenge, like later in the year, it makes more sense to be in muscle gain mode. The health templates will set you up nicely for getting started and on track when it comes to measuring your food and dialing in your 5 main factors for improving body composition. Once you get to a certain body composition, however, you'll benefit greatly from using a more periodized approach or a maintenance phase. As we've mentioned, there are different templates to choose from. The first we'll quickly review is the health template, which is primarily for those with minimal experience weighing and measuring food. It offers more generous food choices than the other templates and a higher level of flexibility. It offers a more simplified approach that does not move through phases and has less emphasis on nutrient timing. The primary goal of the health template is to get you started on finding your caloric and macronutrient balance, the 2 most significant factors when it comes to your success. This is what a health template looks like. I don't want to spend a ton of time here because you'll be able to see a full screencast of how to use your templates. But let's look at some of the features. The first thing you should notice is that the grid is broken up into 2 major sections. One is for 3 meals per day and one is for 4 meals per day. You can choose either one and it will adjust your quantities appropriately. The red column is for your lean protein sources. The green column is for your veggies. The yellow and orange columns are for your healthy carbs. And the last column, the brown column, is for your fats. For each meal, it will give you a specific amount of that food that you should be eating, but you can choose from any of the choices in the top. The cutting and massing templates, also called weight loss or weight gain templates, are great for those with some experience measuring food and macros before. It has fewer food choices and offers a more specific but less flexible plan. It's more complex than the health template because it takes into account different phases and a higher emphasis on nutrient timing. Let's take a look at a cutting weight loss template. You'll notice some key differences with this screenshot, including a smaller food choice box, the addition of workout carbs, which are in blue in the final column, the arrows on the left-hand side, which indicate there are more templates down below for your workout days, and the different tabs at the top that represent the different phases. So you start in a base, then you go to cut 1, cut 2, and cut 3. This is something that doesn't happen on the health templates. Phew! That was a lot of information. What should you do now? The first thing you should do is make sure you're signed up for the Tribe Transform Challenge. If you've already done that, great job. Talk to your coach about which template is right for you. They can guide you to the right approach. Once you have it, watch the template how-to screencast to see how it works. You should have access to our new Iron Tribe Fuel Manual. A lot of this information and more is in this manual. Make it your friend. Start getting ready to execute. While the templates can certainly guide you to a more detailed and specific approach to achieve your goals, the hard work comes in following the instructions and being prepared. This approach takes some planning, organization, and follow-through for success. You're not alone though. Use your coaches as a resource and your community as motivation. Thanks for watching and good luck to everyone in the challenge.